The Galactic Council had always thought humans were strange. For 30 years, humanity had been part of the stars. They had joined the great family of alien races. And in all that time, they had never once started a war. They smiled at everyone. They talked instead of fighting. They brought gifts and spoke of friendship, ambassador. Danny Cole stood in the great council chamber on Nexus Prime. The room was huge. Thousands of aliens from hundreds of worlds sat in seats that rose up like a stadium. Danny was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He stood with his hands behind his back. He looked calm. He looked peaceful. He looked like a man who had never hurt anyone in his life. The Craxi Empire had just made an announcement. They wanted to take 3 human colony worlds. These worlds were in a place called the Outer Reach. The Craxi were sure that the humans would just accept this. After all, humans were soft. Humans were weak. Humans only knew how to talk. High Commander Thexrel of the Craxi stood across from Danny. He was 8 feet tall. His body was like a giant insect with hard black armor and 4 arms that ended in sharp claws. His face had 2 large eyes and a mouth full of mandibles that clicked when he spoke. The Craxi had conquered 47 species. They knew what weakness looked like. And they saw weakness in Danny Cole. "We would prefer to solve this problem through talking," Danny said. His voice was calm and soft. Thexrel laughed. It was an ugly sound, like metal scraping against metal. "Your preference means nothing to us. You have 10 days to move your people off those worlds. If you do not, we will remove them ourselves." Danny did not look angry. He did not look scared. He just nodded slowly, like a teacher listening to a student say something wrong. "I understand," he said. "I will tell Earth Command what you have said. But I must tell you something. This matter will now go from the Diplomatic Corps to the Defense Council." Thexrel waved one of his claws like he was pushing away a fly. "Your defense fleet is small. Your weapons are old. We have studied your kind for many years. You are traders. You are explorers. You are talkers. You are not fighters." "Of course," Danny agreed. He was still smiling. "We prefer it that way." Lieutenant Commander Kate Morrison stood at the back of the human group. She was a young woman with short brown hair and sharp eyes. She had been watching everything carefully. When Danny smiled at the Craxi commander, she felt something cold run down her back. She had seen that smile before. Her grandfather had smiled like that in old photos. He had smiled like that right before he went to war 3 times. The human group left the council chamber. As they walked out, the Velrani ambassador turned to her assistant. The Velrani were a peaceful race with 4 eyes and long, thin bodies. They had been watching humans for many years. "Have you ever seen a human fight?" the ambassador asked quietly. "No," her assistant said. "None of the council races have. Humans always give up or talk their way out before any fighting starts." The ambassador's 4 eyes became narrow. "Does that not seem strange to you? Humans have spread to 60 worlds. They have survived everything the galaxy has thrown at them. Plagues, disasters, hostile planets. And yet no one has ever seen them fight. Not once." Her assistant had no answer. On the human ship Meadowlark, Danny Cole took off his formal jacket and sat down heavily in a chair. Kate Morrison brought him a glass of bourbon. The ship was quiet. The other diplomats had gone to their rooms. Only Danny and Kate remained in the main room. "How long before the Defense Council starts protocol evening?" Kate asked. Danny took a long drink. "They probably started the moment Thexrel made his threat. Our listening post would have sent the message the second he spoke." Kate sat down across from him. She pulled up a display screen. It showed the movement of ships. Lots of ships. Ships that were not showing up on any alien sensors. Ships that had been hiding in the dark places between stars for years. "I really did try," Danny said quietly. "I always try to find a peaceful way. I know, sir. 30 years I have been doing this job. 30 years of smiling and shaking hands and finding ways to make everyone happy. And it works most of the time. Most species are reasonable. Most species understand that war is bad for everyone. But not the Craxi. No, not the Craxi. Danny finished his drink and stared at the empty glass. They have conquered 47 species. They have never lost a war. They think strength is the only thing that matters. They look at us and see prey. Kate checked her display again. More ships were moving now. Ships were coming from hidden bases. Ships were powering up weapons that the galaxy had never seen. The human military had been preparing for this day for 30 years. They had hoped it would never come, but they had prepared anyway. Admiral Bennett is asking for your official authorization, Kate said. Danny was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked up at her. His kind eyes had changed. They were still the same color. They were still the same shape, but something behind them was different now. Something old. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time. Tell the Admiral he has full authorization for protocol evening. And tell him I want minimum casualties on both sides if possible. Danny stood up and walked to the window. Stars filled the darkness outside. The Craxi made a mistake today. They looked at our smiles and thought we were harmless. They looked at our handshakes and thought we were weak. And what are we really? Kate asked. Danny did not turn around. We are what we have always been. We are the species that hunted mammoths with sticks. We are the species that crossed oceans in wooden boats. We are the species that split atoms and walked on moons. We are the most dangerous thing that has ever come out of any planet anywhere. He finally turned to face her. He was smiling again. But this smile was different from the one he showed the council. We are apex predators, Kate. We are the thing that other things are afraid of. We have just learned to be very, very good at pretending otherwise. The Meadowlark turned toward Earth. Behind them, across 3 star systems, the largest military operation in human history was beginning. And the Craxi had no idea what was coming. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson. A lesson that humanity had tried very hard not to teach. But some students only learn the hard way, and humans were very good teachers when they needed to be. Admiral Greg Bennett had not slept in 2 days. He did not plan to sleep for 2 more days. The war room on Orbital Station Sentinel was full of people. Officers from every part of the human military worked at their stations. Screens covered every wall. Maps showed the position of every ship in 3 star systems. This was protocol evening, and it was the biggest military action humans had ever done in space. Greg was a big man with a shaved head and a face full of scars. He had been a soldier for 40 years. He had fought in small wars on distant planets. He had trained for big wars that he hoped would never come. Now that war was here, and he was ready. What is the status of the colony evacuation? Greg asked. Commander Nicole Price checked her screen. She was a small woman with red hair and fast fingers. She could read data faster than anyone Greg had ever met. All civilian ships have left the 3 systems. The Craxi scouts think they are watching people run away in fear. They have no idea that the evacuation ships are hiding our main fleet. Good, and where are the Craxi now? Exactly where we thought they would be. They are moving their invasion force through the Artemis Corridor. Standard formation. 800 warships. 40 troop carriers. About 200,000 soldiers total. Greg looked at the map. The Craxi ships were red dots moving through space in neat lines. They looked very organized. They looked very professional. They had done this 47 times before against 47 different species. They had won every single time. They don't change their tactics, Greg said. They do the same thing every time because it has always worked. Yes, sir. They have never needed to learn new tricks. Greg allowed himself a small smile. Well, they are about to learn today. On the carrier Resolute, Captain Amy Tran walked through the fighter bay. 300 small attack ships sat in neat rows. Pilots in flight suits checked their ships and made final preparations. The bay smelled like fuel and metal and sweat. It smelled like war. Amy was a short woman with black hair pulled back tight. She had been a fighter pilot before she became a captain. She knew what it felt like to fly into battle. She knew the fear and the excitement and the strange calm that came when there was no more time to worry. She stopped next to a young pilot who was checking his ship. "How are you feeling, Lieutenant?" she asked. The pilot looked up. He was barely 25 years old. His name tag said Martinez. "Ready, Captain. We trained for this." "Yes, you did. Remember your training? Stay with your squadron. Follow orders. And come back alive." "Yes, ma'am." Amy continued walking. She thought about her daughter. Little Emma was 7 years old. She lived on New Vermont, one of the 3 colony worlds the Craxi wanted to take. Amy had sent her there because it was supposed to be safe. Far from any danger. A good place for a child to grow up. Now that safe place was in danger, and Amy was going to make sure nothing touched it. She reached the bridge and took her command chair. The main screen showed the Artemis corridor. Empty space. Dark and quiet. But not for long. "Captain," her tactical officer said, "the Craxi Vanguard has entered the kill zone." Amy touched the photograph she kept next to her chair. Emma's smiling face looked up at her. "Signal the fleet," Amy said. Her voice was calm and cold. "Protocol evening is now active. All ships, weapons free." Across 3 star systems, human ships came to life. They had been hiding in the darkness for years. Some were buried in asteroid fields. Some floated dead in space, looking like old wrecks. Some had been built in secret shipyards that no alien spy had ever found. Now they all powered up at once. The Craxi sensors did not see them coming. Human stealth technology was 30 years more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The humans had never shown it to anyone. They had kept it secret, waiting for a day they hoped would never come. The first Craxi scout ship died without knowing what killed it. One moment it was sending data back to the main fleet. The next moment it was just gone. No explosion. No debris. Just nothing. Then another scout died. And another. And 12 more after that. On the Craxi flagship, High Commander Thexrel stared at his tactical display in confusion. "What is happening?" he demanded. His tactical officer was shaking. Craxi did not shake. They were warriors. They did not feel fear. But this officer was shaking. "I do not know, Commander. There's nothing on our sensors. No enemy ships. No weapons fire. Our scouts are just disappearing." "That is impossible. Ships do not just disappear." "I know, Commander. But they are." Thexrel grabbed the officer and pulled him close. "Find me an enemy to fight, now." Then the Resolute appeared. One moment there was empty space in front of the Craxi flagship. The next moment there was a human carrier. It did not fly in from somewhere else. It did not come out of faster-than-light travel. It was simply not there, and then it was Thexrel had never seen a human warship before. No, Craxi had. He had expected something small, something weak, something easy to destroy. The Resolute was none of those things. It was massive. It was covered in weapons that his computer could not identify. It was painted dark gray and black like a shadow given form. And on its hull, written in letters that his translator made perfectly clear, were words that burned into his brain. "We came in peace. You chose war." Thexrel stared at those words. He had laughed at the human ambassador 2 days ago. He had called humans soft and weak. He had threatened to remove them from their worlds like insects. Now he understood his mistake. Behind the Resolute, more human ships appeared. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. They came out of nowhere, filling the space around the Craxi fleet like wolves surrounding a herd of sheep. "All ships battle formation," Thexrel shouted. "Fire at will." The Craxi weapons lit up the darkness. Plasma cannons and missile launchers and railguns all fired at once. The firepower would have destroyed any other fleet in the galaxy. The human ships did not even slow down. Their shields absorbed everything the Craxi threw at them. And then the humans fired back. Thexrel watched as his ships began to fall. Not explode, fall. The humans were not aiming for the parts of ships that held crew members. They were hitting engines and weapons. They were making his ships helpless without killing everyone inside. "They are not trying to destroy us," his tactical officer said in wonder. They are trying to stop us. Why? Vexrol could not understand. In war, you killed your enemies. That was how war worked. Why would they not kill us? No one had an answer. The battle had just begun, and already Vexrol knew how it would end. The humans were faster. The humans were stronger. The humans had technology the Craxi had never dreamed of, and worst of all, the humans were holding back. This was not a war. This was a lesson. And Vexrol was about to learn what happened when you threatened the wrong species. The Battle of Artemis Corridor lasted 4 hours and 17 minutes. Later, historians from 100 worlds would argue about what to call it. Some said it was a battle. Others said it was a hunt. A few honest ones called it what it really is. It was a lesson. Lieutenant Kyle Martinez flew his fighter through a cloud of broken metal. 2 minutes ago, this metal had been a Craxi destroyer. Now it was just floating junk. Kyle's squadron had taken out 11 enemy ships in the first few minutes of the fight. They had not destroyed the ships. They had crippled them, hit the engines, hit the weapons, left the life support alone. The Craxi crews were still alive inside those dead ships, floating in the dark, unable to move, unable to fight, unable to do anything except wait. Omega Squadron, form up on me, Kyle said into his radio. We have a troop carrier trying to run for the jump point. Copy that, Omega Lead. It was his wingman, a young pilot named Sarah Wells. But our orders say disable only. That carrier has thousands of soldiers on board. Kyle checked his targeting screen. The carrier was huge and slow. It held about 12,000 Craxi warriors, all of them trained to kill humans. All of them on their way to invade human worlds. Every part of Kyle wanted to fire everything he had at that ship. Every instinct told him to kill the threat before it could hurt anyone he loved. He took a deep breath. Then another. Hit their engines, he said. Leave the rest alone. They are not going anywhere. The squadron swooped down on the carrier like hawks. Their weapons were precise, surgical. They hit exactly what they aimed at and nothing else. In 30 seconds, the carrier was dead in space. Its engines were gone. Its weapons were slag. But its hull was intact. Its crew was alive. Kyle pulled his fighter away and looked back at the drifting ship. 12,000 Craxi soldiers, helpless at his mercy. He did not fire again across the battle. Similar scenes played out everywhere. Human ships tore through the Craxi fleet with terrible speed. They moved like dancers. They aimed like surgeons. They hit engines and weapons and left everything else alone. Captain Amy Tran stood on the bridge of the Resolute and watched her display. Her fleet was winning. That was not a surprise. What surprised her was how fast it was happening. Status report, she said. Her tactical officer looked up. 70% of the Craxi fleet is disabled, Captain. The rest are trying to form a defensive line around their flagship. Casualties? Theirs or ours? Both. We have lost 2 fighters. Pilots ejected safely. Craxi casualties are still being calculated, but most of their crews are alive. We are hitting them hard, but we are not hitting their crew areas. Amy nodded. This was the plan. This was always the plan. Humans did not fight to kill. They fought to win. And sometimes winning meant leaving your enemy alive to tell others what happened. What about the flagship? She asked. Still active. High Commander Vexrol is still giving orders, but his fleet is not listening anymore. Most of them are too busy trying to survive. Open a channel to Admiral Bennett. The screen flickered and Admiral Greg Bennett appeared. He looked tired. He looked old, but his eyes were sharp and clear. Captain Tran, good work out there. Thank you, Admiral. The Craxi flagship is still fighting. Do we have permission to take it down? Greg was quiet for a moment. Disable it. Do not destroy it. I want to talk to their commander. Understood, Admiral. The Resolute turned toward the Craxi flagship. It was a massive ship, bristling with weapons. Vexrol had surrounded it with his last remaining warships. They were badly damaged, but they were still trying to fight. Amy respected that. She respected any creature that refused to give up, but respect did not change what had to happen. All batteries, target their engines and main weapons, she ordered. Fire! The Resolute unleashed everything it had. The Craxi flagship shook under the impact. Its engines died. Its weapons went dark. In less than a minute, the most powerful ship in the Craxi fleet was just another piece of drifting metal on the flagship bridge. High Commander Thex Roll stood among the wreckage of his command center. Sparks flew from broken consoles. Emergency lights painted everything red. His officers lay scattered around him, stunned but alive. The humans had been careful. Even when destroying his ship, they had avoided killing anyone. Why? Warriors killed their enemies. That was the natural order. That was how the universe worked. Commander, one of his officers said weakly, we are receiving a communication from the human flagship. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life. Admiral Greg Bennett appeared. The human looked calm. Not happy. Not proud. Just calm, like a man doing a job he did not enjoy. High Commander Thexroll, Greg said. Your fleet is disabled. Your soldiers are stranded. You have no help coming. Your homeworld defenses have been compromised by forces we placed there years ago. You have lost. Thexroll felt something he had never felt before. Something cold and heavy in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it. Fear. Then finish it, he said. His voice was rough. Destroy us. It is what any real warrior would do. Greg's face changed. It was a small change, something in his eyes. Something sad. We are not warriors, High Commander. We never wanted to be. Warriors fight for glory and conquest. We fight only when we must. And we stop the moment the threat is gone. You are no longer a threat. The galaxy will think you are weak. They will think you cannot finish what you start. Maybe. Greg leaned closer to the camera. Or maybe they will understand something else. Something more important. We could have killed every single one of your soldiers today. We could have turned your homeworld to ash. We have had the power to do this for 30 years. But we chose not to. We always choose not to. And tomorrow, when this is over, we will go back to being diplomats and traders and explorers. Because that is what we like to be. He paused. When he spoke again, his voice was soft and heavy. But we will never forget how to do this. And now, neither will you. The screen went dark. Thexroll stood alone in the ruins of his command center. Outside, human boarding parties were already moving through his ship. They would take prisoners. They would treat the wounded. They would be professional and polite and completely terrifying. The galaxy had made a terrible mistake, Thexroll realized. They had looked at human smiles and seen weakness. They had looked at human handshakes and seen prey. They had not understood that the smile was a choice. That every peaceful moment was a predator choosing not to bite. The hunters had always been there. They had just been waiting, and now the whole galaxy knew the truth about humanity. The Galactic Council met 3 days after the Craxi surrender. Every species sent their most important leaders. The observation galleries were packed with delegates from 100 worlds. They all stared at the small human group with new eyes. Different eyes. Scared eyes. Ambassador Danny Cole stood at the speaker's platform. He looked the same as always, calm, friendly, tired around the edges. But no one in the chamber saw a harmless diplomat anymore. They saw what had always been there, hiding behind kind words and patient smiles. The Craxi Empire has agreed to leave all human territories, Danny reported. His voice was soft and even. They will pay for the damage they threatened to cause. They have signed a peace agreement that will last 50 years. There will be no human occupation of Craxi space. There will be no punishment of their civilian population. The chamber was silent. Usually delegates talked over each other. They argued and shouted and made grand speeches. Today, no one made a sound. The Velrani ambassador finally raised one of her long, thin arms. Ambassador Cole, we need to understand something. Your species destroyed an entire invasion fleet in less than 5 hours. Your technology is far beyond what you have ever shown us, and yet you take no territory. You demand no tribute. You release your prisoners within days of capturing them. Why? Danny smiled. It was a warm smile, the same smile he had given the council for 30 years. But now everyone in the chamber felt a chill when they saw it. What is there to understand, Ambassador? We defended our people. The threat is gone. We have no interest in conquest. We never have. Another delegate spoke up. He was from a species called the Taurith. They were large and strong and had always thought themselves superior to the small, soft humans. But you could have destroyed the Craxi completely. You could have taken their worlds. Why did you not? Because we did not need to. Danny's voice was patient, like a teacher explaining something simple to a slow student. Let me tell you something about humanity, something we probably should have made clear from the beginning. He stepped away from the platform and walked to the center of the chamber. Every eye followed him. We are not peaceful because we cannot be violent. We are peaceful because we choose to be. Every day, every conversation, every negotiation, it is a choice. We choose diplomacy over warfare. We choose friendship over fear. But it is always a choice. He stopped and looked around the room. His eyes met the eyes of 100 different species. Back on our homeworld, our ancestors survived by being the most dangerous creatures on the planet. We were not the biggest. We were not the strongest. We were not the fastest. But we hunted animals 10 times our size. We followed prey across entire continents until they fell down from exhaustion. We invented tools for one reason only: to kill more efficiently. No one moved. No one breathed. This is our inheritance. This is what we carry in our blood and our bones. We are predators. We have always been predators. We will always be predators. Danny began walking slowly around the chamber. But somewhere along the way, we learned something else. We learned that working together is more powerful than fighting alone. We learned that building is more satisfying than destroying. We learned that the greatest strength is knowing when not to use your strength. He stopped again. So we put away our claws. We hid our teeth. We learned to smile and shake hands and solve problems with words instead of weapons. We became diplomats. His voice changed. It became softer but somehow more dangerous. We will continue to be diplomats. We will continue to seek peace. We will continue to offer friendship to anyone who wants it. But never forget what we truly are. Never mistake our gentleness for weakness. Never think our patience means we cannot act. He turned to face the Craxi delegate. The insectoid alien flinched back in his seat. 3 days ago, the Craxi had ruled over 47 conquered species. Now they sat in the council chamber like scared children. And never, Danny said quietly, ever threaten our people again. He walked back to the speaker's platform. His smile returned, warm and friendly. Are there any questions? There were no questions. Not one. After the session ended, the delegates filed out in silence. They walked past the human group without making eye contact. They hurried to their ships and their embassies. They sent messages to their HOMEOLDS. The messages all said the same thing. Do not anger the humans. Do not threaten the humans. Do not make the humans stop smiling. Ambassador Danny Cole returned to his quarters. Kate Morrison was waiting for him with a glass of bourbon. She had been promoted to full commander after the battle. Soon she would be an ambassador herself. How do you feel? She asked. Danny took the glass and drank half of it in one swallow. Tired. I hate doing that. I hate showing them the teeth behind the smile. It was necessary. I know. That is what makes it worse. He sat down heavily in a chair. 30 years, Kate. 30 years of building relationships. Building trust. Showing the galaxy that humans could be good neighbors. And now everyone looks at us like we are monsters. We are not monsters. No, but we could be. That is the problem. That is what they saw today. Not what we are, but what we could become if we wanted to. Kate sat across from him. Do you think it will change anything? Do you think they will treat us differently now? Danny laughed. It was not a happy laugh. Oh yes, everything will change. Trade agreements that took years to negotiate will happen in days. Territorial disputes will disappear the moment we offer to mediate. Species that look down on us will suddenly want to be our friends. That sounds good. It is not. Danny finished his drink and stared at the empty glass. They are not being friendly because they like us. They are being friendly because they fear us. And fear is not a good foundation for friendship. Kate was quiet for a moment. But it will keep our people safe. Yes, it will keep our people safe. That is why we did it. That is why we showed them what we really are. Danny stood up and walked to the window. Stars filled the darkness outside. The Craxi made a mistake. They threatened our colonies, our homes, our children. They forced us to stop pretending. He turned to face her. We will go back to being diplomats tomorrow. We will smile and shake hands and talk about peace. But everyone will remember today. Everyone will know that behind every smile is a predator choosing not to bite. Behind every handshake is a fist choosing not to strike. And is that so bad? Kate asked. Maybe it will make the galaxy more peaceful. Maybe no one will start wars if they know what humans can do. Danny nodded slowly. Maybe, that is my hope. That showing our teeth once will mean we never have to show them again. He looked back at the stars. But I am not sure that is how the universe works. I am not sure peace through fear is really peace at all. Then why did we do it? Because the alternative was worse. Because letting the Craxi take our worlds would have meant more death, more suffering, more war in the future. Sometimes you have to choose the lesser evil. Kate stood up and joined him at the window. What happens now? Now we wait. We watch. We continue to be the best diplomats we can be. And we hope that no one else makes the same mistake the Craxi made. And if they do? Danny Cole turned to her. His kind eyes had something old and sharp behind them. Something that had been sleeping for 30 years and was not quite ready to go back to sleep. Then we teach them the same lesson. As many times as it takes. Until the galaxy finally understands. He smiled. And for just a moment, Kate Morrison saw the predator behind the diplomat. It was not a comforting sight. 6 months passed after the Battle of Artemis Corridor. The galaxy changed in small ways and big ways. Some changes were easy to see. Human diplomatic ships were now greeted with deep respect wherever they went. Trade agreements that used to take years now took weeks. Territorial disputes that had lasted for decades ended the moment human mediators arrived. Other changes were harder to see. They happened in private conversations and secret messages. They happened in the way alien delegates looked at humans when they thought no one was watching. Fear had replaced curiosity. Caution had replaced friendship. Ambassador Kate Morrison stood in the observation lounge of the diplomatic station. Above Nexus Prime, she had been promoted twice since the battle. Danny Cole had retired to a quiet planet where he could grow vegetables and forget about the galaxy for a while. Now, Kate was the face of human diplomacy. She sipped her coffee and watched the stars. Beside her, the Velrani ambassador stood quietly. They had become something like friends over the past 6 months. Or as close to friends as a human and a Velrani could be now. I have been studying your species, the Velrani said. Her voice was careful, like someone approaching a sleeping animal. I have read your histories, your stories, your religions, your art. You are a strange people, Kate Morrison. How so? Your greatest heroes are not your strongest fighters. They are the ones who chose to show mercy when they did not have to. Your religions talk about love and forgiveness, but they also talk about hundreds of years of killing. You build statues to peace while keeping weapons that could break worlds. Kate turned to look at her. The Velrani had 4 eyes, all of them focused on her face. Trying to understand. Trying to make sense of something that did not fit into any category. You are a species at war with itself, the Velrani continued. Your kind nature fights your dangerous nature every day. And somehow, the kind nature keeps winning. How is that possible? Kate thought about the question. She thought about her grandfather, who had fought in 3 wars and spent the rest of his life working for peace. She thought about Admiral Greg Bennett, who had commanded the most deadly military operation in human history and then cried in his quarters afterward. She thought about Danny Cole, who had shown the galaxy humanity's teeth and then walked away because he hated what he had done. Maybe that is the whole point, she said finally. Every day we have to choose who we want to be. The violence is always there, inside us. It never goes away. But so is everything else. The compassion, the curiosity, the need to connect with others. Being human means constantly choosing which part of ourselves to let out. And when you stop choosing peace, then we become something else, something older. Something from before we learned to build cities and write books and dream of stars. Kate looked back at the window, but only for as long as we need to. Only until the thread is gone. Then we put it away again. The Velreni was quiet for a long time. Below them, a human cargo ship was docking at the station. Kate could see the crew waving at the customs officers. Families were hugging each other. Children were running through the corridors, playing games that children had played for thousands of years. They looked so normal, so harmless, so gentle. I believe I understand now, the Velreni said slowly. There is an old phrase from your world. Something about speaking softly and carrying a large stick. Kate laughed. Close enough. Kate Morrison. I have one more question. If humanity had met a species that was stronger than you, more advanced, more numerous, would you still have tried diplomacy first? Kate's smile did not change, but something shifted behind her eyes. The Velreni saw it and felt cold. Ambassador, humanity spent most of its existence as prey. We were smaller than the predators on our world, weaker than the giant animals, slower than almost everything that wanted to eat us. We should have died out 1,000,000 years ago. She turned to face the Velreni fully. But here we are. And the saber-toothed cats are gone? The cave bears are gone. The mammoths are gone. Every creature that ever threatened us is gone. We outlasted them all. Not because we were stronger, because we never gave up, because we adapted, because when something pushed us, we pushed back twice as hard. Her voice was soft, but there was something under it. Something that had been sleeping for a long time. We always choose diplomacy first. We always try to find a peaceful answer. But when we cannot find one, when something threatens our children and our homes and our future, we become exactly what we need to be. And we do not stop until the threat is gone. The Velreni ambassador did not speak for a very long time. She just looked at Kate Morrison and thought about everything she had learned about humans in the past 6 months. They smiled so easily. They laughed so freely. They made friends with anyone who offered friendship. They were the most social species in the galaxy, always wanting to talk, to share, to connect. But now the Velreni understood the truth. Every smile was a predator choosing not to bite. Every handshake was claws being held back. Every peaceful word was spoken by a species that had clawed its way to the top of one food chain and would do the same to any other if it had to. The day we learned the truth about humans, the Velreni said quietly, was the day everything changed? Kate nodded. Yes, and we wish it had not happened that way. We like being the friendly species. We like being the diplomats and the peacemakers. It was nice, pretending we were just like everyone else. But you are not like everyone else. No, we never were. We just got very good at pretending. Below them, life continued on the station. Humans walked alongside aliens of a dozen species. They traded goods and shared meals and told jokes. They looked completely harmless, but now every alien on that station knew what Kate Morrison knew, what Admiral Greg Bennett knew, what Danny Cole knew, what every human who had ever lived knew in their bones and blood. Humans were not diplomats who sometimes fought. They were fighters who had chosen to be diplomats. The claws were always there, hidden behind gentle hands. The teeth were always there, hidden behind friendly smiles. The predator was always there, watching and waiting, ready to wake up the moment it was needed. the day the galaxy realized that humans were just apex predators pretending to be diplomats, was the day the universe changed forever, and somewhere on a quiet planet far from Nexus Prime, Danny Cole was watering his vegetables and trying to forget the look on Vexrol's face when the Craxi commander finally understood what he was dealing with. He did not want to be a predator. None of them did, but some things are written in blood and bone, passed down through millions of years of survival. You cannot escape what you are. You can only control it, and humans were very, very good at control, most of the time. The end.